All right. Well, welcome everybody. I want to say, man, I am like super happy about Monday because there's a few things that I want to make sure that we share prior to our guest arrival. As you know, what we've been doing is really making sure that you have the best and the information that is necessary for you to be able to grow your successful side business. Well, to start, well, a new piece, a new segment, new thing that we're going to be doing is called Massive Action Mondays. That's right, Massive Action Mondays. Hence, you can see the shirt. Yes, the merch, you can get that also as well. But one of the things that is really cool and important about Massive Action Mondays is I want to be able to bring you something of a challenge, something that you can do, something tangible that you can leverage and ensure that going forward for this week, you have something that you can go do. And then I want you to tell me about it after we give you that thing. Well, to kick off Massive Action Monday, I don't know anybody better, quite honestly, to be able to help us out with Massive Action Monday more than the gentleman that I am going to be bringing to the room. And what's so cool is he's getting ready to come on here in a moment. But I want you to understand Massive Action Monday is something that I have been like going, okay, what else can we give to our community? What are some of the other things that we can do to really ensure that you start moving forward? Because the truth of the matter is this: it doesn't matter how many videos you watch, how many books you read, how great those things are. If you are not personally actually moving forward, it does not matter. And so with Massive Action Mondays kicking off, I thought, what better way to kick off Massive Action Mondays than to have my business coach, the man who is literally giving me more things that I need to focus on and actually do to push us in the right directions than actually having Myron Golden as our guest. Now, if you don't know who Myron Golden is, and if you're not familiar with who he is and how he operates and what he does, let me give you an understanding. So earlier this year, I actually attended one of his challenges. I got a chance to meet and hear from somebody who I would have never in a million years thought, like, wait a second, this guy he's different, right? You kind of meet people and you hear about people and you're like, oh, that person does this or this person does that. And it's not until most of the time they open their mouth and then you're like, I don't know about this person. But there was something distinct about the way he talked when I first met him. He was not just sure of himself, but it was the precise nature in which he talked. It was this understanding that he had that, quite honestly, it immediately helped me understand, Chris, there's something that you're missing. And part of it was not just necessarily the network, but what he had to share. One, this gentleman is faith-based like none other than I've ever seen. A former pastor, in fact, who's literally turned his passion for the word of God into one of the greatest movements I've ever seen. And he's going to be able to tell you not only about that, but even more, because I got some questions and things that I've got cooking up that y'all, we just got to go ahead and bring him in. So listen, y'all, without further ado, I want to go ahead and bring in man, I don't even know how to say this. Like I'm so excited to have this conversation. I think we need to go ahead and get started. And so what I want to do is bring to the front right now my business coach, co-authored the book with this guy. His name is the incredible Myron Golden. And so I am like, man, I'm so excited with Massive Action Monday kicking off. What better way than to have Myron with us? And so Myron, first of all, man, you just a bomb. I like that.
Thank you, brother.
Like you're just a bomb. And here's what's cool. Myron, you did something when I first met you. You don't know you did this yet. So I got to reveal this now. So this Monday kicks off a new segment we got called Massive Action Monday. And you're the first person on Massive Action Monday, which is really cool. But that's you did something that I did not know I needed. And so I'm going to reveal that to everybody here, but I wanted to share this with you. So I was in the middle of your challenge. And after your challenge, I got an opportunity to be a part of the wonderful group of people that you coach personally, millionaires that you are coaching personally. And you said something one day, and I had to deal with it because I wasn't ready for it. You punched me right in the face, and you was like, welcome to being a part of my coaching program. But it was a good punch. And you said to me, Chris, if you're not reading enough, I don't know how you're going to help other people. And here I am, a grown man, never really thought about the way I read. And I'll give you a perfect example. So I'm sitting here listening to you coach. And at first I kind of wanted to feel away because I'm like, he don't know me. He don't know what he's talking about. But then you explained why reading was most important if we were going to start coaching people. And the one thing that you said, I'll never forget this, and I want you to introduce yourself because I want to get into the meat of the stuff. But you said, Chris, here's the thing. Most people will read a book. Like I got this book here, just got this earlier this week. It's called Generations. It's a book that literally walks through the generations of American history and shows you the patterns of things that have happened all over. It's a really great book. But you said to me, Chris, you said most people will pick up this book and read it from front to back and then go, oh, I read it and I feel good about myself. You said, Chris, but if I asked you a couple weeks later, you have no idea what you read. You don't even have any context of what you read. And yet you will literally walk around and think you did something. And you said, and I'm going to use your words. You said, I submit to you, you need to learn how to read a different way. And I'm like, what do you mean? And you said, I want you to start reading the pages and not just copying quotes, but what does it mean to you? What did it say to you? What is it going to cause you to do as a result? And start capturing that and then go do something with that information. And when you said that, I was like, oh my God, I've been literally reading the wrong way all of my life. So I wanted to share that with you, but in all seriousness, this is the greatest thing ever. So for Massive Action Monday, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to some and present to others the incredible Myron Golden. Myron, how are you today? This is what happens when we go live, y'all. Sometimes we have situations. Sometimes we have issues. It's all good. Myron will be with us in a second. But I wanted to share that story because I think one of the worst things that happens a lot of times is that we don't challenge ourselves enough. And sometimes it takes somebody outside of us to actually challenge us, to say, hey, listen, what can you do, right? Like, what things do you need to be paying attention to? And a lot of times what happens is, some people, they will literally go through their entire lives and never challenge themselves. They will never look at their daily routines, habits, and the things that they do and go, wait a second, why do I continue to do that? Why am I always doing it that way? Why have I not even changed or at least questioned the way I do things? That's what I love about having a coach, right? Especially a coach at this level. So for Massive Action Monday, what we're going to do is not only we're going to hear about his story, not only we're going to dive into some things, but what I am actually going to do is I'm going to ask him some of the questions that I know I had when we first started. But more importantly, I know there are questions that you are also interested in as well. And so as we go through these questions, here's what I want you to do. Grab a pad and a pen. If you were live on the chat inside of YouTube, put those questions inside of the live chat. We'll try to get to those as we go, along with making sure that as you get these questions answered and as we talk about these things, listen, I don't want you to make the mistake that I was making with reading, right? I don't want you to listen to this interview and go, oh my gosh, like that was so cool, or what he said. I want you to actually ask yourself a hard question. What am I going to do as a result of hearing what Myron and Chris are talking about? What am I going to apply to my life? That's how I want you to listen to this interview. So I want to say thank you to Myron for being here. And Myron, if you would do the entire world a favor, tell us who you are, tell us who you serve, and then we're going to jump right into this conversation. I'm super excited to have you. Your audio, we need your audio. Your audio is not on. No problem. Guys, this is what happens when you go live, right? This is the fun stuff. So while they are working on that and getting that squared away, here's what I want you to do. Make sure, ask your questions. I want you to make sure that you use the hashtag Massive Action Monday as well. And I also want you to make sure that you put your questions down in the YouTube chat, subscribe to the YouTube channel, make sure that you don't miss this. So that way you can keep coming back and replay. And by the way, you might want to share this because there might be somebody who you know personally who might need to hear this same conversation as well. Because this man is truly about changing people's lives for the better. And he does no fluff. He's not interested in theatrics. He's really interested in the truth. And the truth is good enough, which is awesome. So if we're ready to go, then we can go ahead and get started. Yep. Got no volume still. And I think we may do. All right, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to restart this thing so that way we can make sure that like all the audio and everything is synced. We'll be right back. Don't move. Don't worry. We'll
Okay, because he's going to restart, we restart, we're going to be good.
There we go. There's Myron.
You can hear me?
Now I can hear you perfect.
That's so weird, man. Yeah, so we got a power surge as soon as you shifted to me. Like everything went off in our office, everything, and then it came back on, and then when we came back. Disruption always follows intention.
That I literally brought you on an interview for Massive Action Monday, and you caused power surges. I got it. Got it. Okay, that's how this works.
Okay, I'm good with that. So who I am and how I help people. My name is Myron Golden. I teach business, like exponential business growth from a biblical perspective. I teach authors, coaches, speakers, agency owners, and other high-level entrepreneurs how to create, convey, and convert premium value offers faster than any coach in the universe. In fact, while other coaches are trying to help their students have 6 and 7 figure years, we're actually helping our clients have 6 and 7 figure days. And that's who I am, what I do, and what I'm known for. And so if you're ready to take your life and your business to the next level, there's no doubt, and you already have a business, but you're stuck at like $20,000 a month, $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month, or $250,000 a month, we're definitely the ones who can help you take your business to the next level. I'm talking about 10, 12, 20x.
You know, Myron, you mentioned that. And so in the beginning, right, when somebody hears that, I'm going to say the things that somebody is thinking when they first hear that. They're
100%.
Like, they're like, no. Okay. So you're going to really help me go from where I am now to 10xing my revenue, my business, and my clients. Like, come on, Myron. Like, seriously, what's all that about? Like, really, what are you saying?
A couple of things. Number one, people who are making 10 times more money than you, let's not even call it 10 times. Let's say 100 times. People who are making 100 times more money than you, I promise you they're not 100 times smarter than you. I promise you they're not working 100 times harder than you, and I promise you they're not working 100 times more hours. So how is anybody in this world making 100 times more money than you're making? The answer is simple. They know something that works 100 times better than what you know works. If you learn those things and apply them to your life and business, you have to get the same result. So we had a coaching call this morning. These 2 young dudes that are in the coaching program, Josh and Wasi, they were on. They found out about me last May. Their business in the month of May 2021 did $10,000 in revenue. Just this past weekend, they had a $1.6 million day. Here's what that means. And everybody's not going to multiply their revenue by 100x or 160x. But what happened was their business went from $10,000 a month, and so they 160x their monthly revenue in one day a year later. Why? Because I know something that works 160 times better than what they used to know works.
Man, okay, see, you starting already, and you know, I sometimes I have to tell you to stop talking, but we're gonna keep talking for this interview. So I wanna dig in on that because, you know, I have seen, and this has been for me too. So you've coached me through more than you probably even know when it comes to like getting my brain in the right space for what is possible in my life. And I want to kind of start here. Everything that you just said, there's a word that I think most people are afraid of. Selling.
Okay.
It's selling. It's that sell thing, right? It's like, come on, Myron. Like, who wants to go out here and do all of this selling? But let me ask you this question. What makes selling a good thing, and why should we be changing our minds about it?
Yeah, so selling is a good thing, but convincing is a bad thing. So people think they don't like selling, but what they really don't like is convincing. They really don't like begging. They really don't like pressuring people. And unfortunately, most people think that's what sales is, but that's not what sales is. Sales is persuasion. Persuasion is the opposite of convincing. It's the opposite of begging. It's the opposite of high pressure. Selling, okay, so selling is persuasion, and persuasion and convincing are not only not synonyms, they're actually antonyms. They mean the opposite of each other. What do I mean by that? Well, convincing is when I attempt to get you to do something I want you to do for my reasons. That's convincing. Selling is when I help you make a decision you already desire to make for your own reasons. That's selling. It's persuasion. Now, like, people are never wrong about what they want. Now, maybe they're wrong about what they should want, but they're never wrong about what they want. And so the reason people think they don't like sales is because the only sales experiences most people remember are the bad ones. They remember the time the person tried to high pressure them into buying something they didn't want, didn't need, couldn't afford. So they think that's what selling is. But the best selling sales experiences people have had, they don't, even to this day, they don't even know they happened. They were seamless sales experiences. They were what I would call the art of selling without yelling, or the art of selling without telling, or selling without what most people think is selling, right? And what does that look like? Well, people who are really good at sales, they're so good at sales that when you buy, you think the reason you bought is because it was your idea. But I've got right here in my hand, right? I've got my iPhone, right? And my iPhone does not it's the big one. It's like $1,700 iPhone, right? Here's the thing. Nobody was born wanting an iPhone. So why do hundreds of millions of people have one? Well, hundreds of millions of people have one because Apple seamlessly sold you an iPhone, or Android seamlessly sold you an Android, or whatever the thing might happen to be. Like, you can get water out of your faucet, but people still buy bottled water. Why do they buy bottled water? Because bottled water has been sold to us. You were not born wanting to buy anything, so everything you've bought's been sold to you. The people who did a good job selling to you did such a good job that you thought you bought it because it was your idea. The people who did a bad job selling to you, they tried to pressure you in to buying something so they could get paid, or for some other of their reasons, as opposed to helping you find a solution to a problem you already knew you had, so you'd be willing to buy for your own reasons. That's why people think they don't like sales. Does that make sense?
Man, it does. And so now that we understand that it's a good thing, so my audience
And that's
are
just one of
corporate
the reasons it's a good
professionals
thing.
who I like to say are successfully discontent, and what they need to do is
Mm-hmm.
be able to build them a side business. Now, we had the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to work together to write the forthcoming book, From Side Hustle to Side Business: How to Take Any Product or Service and Turn It into Story, Success, and Sales. But here's my question for you. Why should someone consider starting a side business? Given what's going on in the market, given all of the pressures, right? Given, hey, if I'm working my job and right now things seem kind of tight, I'm kind of going to work in survival mode, but hey, this is the only job I got. Doesn't really seem like a whole lot going on. Why would I then go, yeah, well, let me go start a side business over here? From your perspective, like, why is that a good thing? Now that we understand sales is a good thing, why would I go do that?
Especially for high level professionals, high level managers, high level executives, because the only real freedom you will ever have is the freedom you create for yourself. I heard Robert G. Allen say a long time ago, there are two doors in life. One is marked security, the other is marked freedom. If you choose the door marked security, you get neither security nor freedom. But
Mm.
if you pick the door marked freedom, you get both. And so the only way to have freedom and security is by having something that you own. It's interesting to me that most people have no leverage in their life. What's leverage mean? Leverage means a minimal input creates a multiplied output. A small input creates a magnified output. And so the question then becomes, okay, how can I have some leverage? How can I do something that has minimal input that has maximum output, right? And Archimedes said, if you give me a lever long enough and a prop strong enough, I can single-handedly move the world. Here's the problem. Most people have no leverage. And I promise you, if you don't have any leverage, then you are somebody else's leverage.
Mm. Okay. All right. I'm not going to be able to write fast enough, so I'm just going to stay in this moment right now. So, what's interesting is I've had an opportunity to learn a little bit more about your background, how you grew up, but there's something interesting that you talk about a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and it's this. There's an intersection in your story that I find fascinating. It's this intersection between business and the Word of God.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow you found this middle space where you're like, I can play in here and not just play in between these two, but I can show how they work together and intersect. And I've seen you literally talk to people who may not necessarily believe in the Bible, who and there's people all around the world who listen to you. Help me understand what got you excited. Like, what was the lynch or something that happened in your life where you were like, these two things work together? And then on the back end, I want you to talk about your love for King Solomon.
Okay, so a couple things. One, is like I was 16 years old when I came to Christ. I had never read a book before in my life. Not for school, not for fun, not for pleasure. If the book wasn't a karate book, which I would look through to find different karate lessons before I could like afford to go to karate class, or if it wasn't a comic book, I didn't read it, right? And so I had never read a book before. I'm 17 years old, and the young man that led me to Christ, he said, "Now you need to start reading the Bible." And honestly, I was horrified because I thought I've got to start reading that big thick book, little bitty words, no pictures, and 2 columns. And I'm like, okay, this is what I'm about now, so I'm going to do it. And I started reading the Bible, not knowing what to expect and thinking I was going to find religion, but I didn't find religion in the Bible. You know what I found? I found practical advice for my everyday life. And I thought, well, let's find out if this is true. So I took some of those principles and applied them to my life, and they worked as well in my life as the Bible said they would. And I found another principle and I applied that, and it worked. I thought, oh, so the Bible's not a book about religion. The Bible's literally a book about results. Like, and you can know what the results are. You can know what the output's going to be before you do the input. I'm like, okay, let's run with this. And so as I became an adult and I had been working jobs my whole life, I discovered that there are only 2 classifications of jobs in the Bible: slaves and soldiers. Everybody else owned a business. Almost every major Bible character was an entrepreneur. I thought, wow, that's fascinating. Now you can see by my golf hat and my ball marker, I am an avid golfer. If I can get in 3 holes of golf today, or 18 holes, or 27 holes of golf today, I'm gonna make it happen. However, if I want to teach you how to play better golf and I want to use the Bible to do it, there are a couple things I could teach you from the Bible about how to be a better golfer, but there's not really anything in there about golf. But the Bible talks a lot about business, right? And it talks a lot about finance, personal finance, and it talks a lot about money, and it talks a lot about the economies of scale. It talks a lot about the economies of nations. And so um, I stopped just listening to what preachers said about what the Bible says about money, and I stopped just listening to what I heard in songs and what I heard in church. And I wanted to find out for myself, okay, what does the Bible say about this subject of money, and how can I apply it to my life? And when I did that, the game changed for me. So my recommendation would be, like, don't take my word for it. Don't take somebody else's word for it. Go find out for yourself. With regard to my love for King Solomon, I think the thing I love about King Solomon is the fact that he's such an accurate representative of a modern day Christian. And you say, well, what does that mean? So if you look at King David, the scripture says that Christ sits on the throne of David forever. Okay. And the word David means beloved. When Christ was baptized, the heavens opened, the voice from heaven said, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased." So David is a type of Christ. Well, Solomon, I believe, is a type of the New Testament believer. And I've never heard anybody say this before. And by the way, I'm going to say this. I could be totally wrong about that, but it sure seems like this is what he's the type of. He's a type of the New Testament believer. And it shows us what a New Testament believer's life can be like, depending on what he does in his life, depending on where we look at Solomon in his life. So if you look at Solomon at the beginning of his life, he was 1,000% yielded to God in everything that he did, and his life was blessed beyond measure, and he became the best of the best. You can forget about the rest. In the middle of his life, he became this backslidden person who used to serve God and used to please God, but he married all these heathen women. He let those heathen women turn his heart away from God. So in the middle of his life, he just sought pleasure. He sought to satisfy his flesh. And he learned during that time period in his life that if you live your life for life under heaven, in other words, if you live your life just for this physical, temporal satisfaction, that's all you live for, you've wasted your life. And then he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes at the end of his life after discovering that he spent all that time chasing nothing after he already had everything. And then he yielded his life back to God in his old age. And he writes the book of Ecclesiastes warning people, don't make the mistake I made. As Og Mandino says, there are three groups of people. There are those who learn from their own experience. These are wise. There are those who learn from the experience of others. These are happy. And there are those who neither learn from their own experience or the experience of others. These are fools. And Solomon's saying, learn from my experience. Don't just be wise. And please don't be a fool, but learn how to be happy and wise. Take my word for it. If you live your life for a life under heaven, you are torturing your soul and wasting your time. And then he comes down to the end of the book of Ecclesiastes, and he says, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. How can I sum up life under heaven? Fear God, keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So I love King Solomon for those reasons, but also because the Bible lays out literally line upon line, precept upon precept, step by step, exactly what Solomon's business model was, made him the wisest, wealthiest king on the earth. And so I built a coaching program based on King Solomon's wisdom and the business model that he had. And I teach his business model to my clients. And that's why we have clients that are 160xing their monthly revenue in a day in less than a year, because we're applying stuff that's been working since the beginning of time.
So you talked about principles there.
Mm-hmm.
And you said there's principles about money.
Mm-hmm.
You said there were first principles that you could remember, like even as a kid, and you applied them and you were like, this actually works.
Right.
What's one of the earliest principles that you read that you applied and you were like, that actually works for anybody?
There are so many. One is, given it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, running over, shall men give into your bosom. Oh, wow. So if I give, then it's going to be given to me. Who's going to give it to me? Men are going to give it to me. So it's better to give than to receive. That's what it says. It's better to give than to receive. It doesn't say it's good to receive and bad to give. It just says it's better to give than to receive, right? And so a lot of people mistakenly think that means it's good to give and it's bad to receive. That's not the case, right? So the question then becomes, how do I give and receive? Okay, so I want to be a good giver. Now, that's one principle that I learned early on. I have 6 brothers. When we were growing up, we did not always get along. But I can honestly say that as a full-grown man, I'm 61 years of age. As a full-grown man, I've only had like 2.5 arguments with my adult brothers in my adult life. Now, wrap your mind around, and we're all really close in age. Like, we're all like, my mom had my oldest brother in 1969, had my youngest brother in 1966, and all the rest of us in between, right? So my mom was basically pregnant for 7 years. So we're really close in age, and we did not always get along growing up. So I found a verse in scripture that says, a soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. And I thought, what if that's true? So I remember one day I said, I'm going to try that. So one of my brothers came in screaming at me, and I was like, oh, wow, I'm really sorry to hear that. Oh, wow, yeah, I get that. Oh, wow, man, it sounds like I really messed up. I'm really sorry. What can I do to help you fix it? And like, it totally de-escalated the situation. And after he left, I was like, that was so cool, right? Oh my goodness, that worked so well. And so I just learned how to apply practically principles in the Bible that work. And then when I started when I got started as an entrepreneur, because I discovered, like most people discover, if all you have is a job, for most people, not for everybody. I mean, there are executives out there who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year and some who make millions of dollars a year. This is not going to be true necessarily for those people. But for the average person out there, if all you have is a job, you're going to have more months left at the end of the money than you do money at the end of the month. And so I said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to apply these principles to my business and see if my business can grow. And I can remember when I first got started in business in 1985, I met a guy, his name was Bill Travis. He was making $10,000 a month in 1985 when $10,000 a month was a lot of money. And I thought, man, if I can just get to $10,000 a month, it's going to be amazing. And now if I had a day that goes by where I only make $10,000, like, where did I mess up, right? And I know that sounds so weird when I say that, and I'm not trying to show off or make you think I'm like, I've just discovered principles that work. It's not that I'm so smart and I'm such a brilliant businessman. I am a brilliant businessman, but I'm not the only brilliant businessman in the world, and I'm not the first brilliant businessman in the world, and I'm not the most brilliant businessman in the world. But I'm not going to deny that, yeah, I'm pretty brilliant. But so are you, right? And so it's not a competition, and it can be a collaboration. And so those are some of the principles that I discovered early. And now, like when I decided 5 years ago, let me see, 2016, 6 years ago, when I decided 6 years ago to build a business model based on the business model of King Solomon, and that business model makes us millions and millions of dollars a year, it's kind of like, wow, this is really cool. What else can we do, right? And so now we just coach other people and teach them how to do that, and so you can build like these ginormous businesses without it requiring sucking all the life out of your body. And so that's what we do. Hopefully that helps.
It, man, that is that, and it's impressive what you built just from the few months that I've gotten to know you. Um, and the room is incredible.
The room's
The
incredible.
type of people, right? Like it's
100.
this isn't like your average room. This is,
Right.
and
Yeah,
I'm
this is
saying that
another,
meaning it's a
it's
room
another
full
level.
of doers, right? Like
It's a room full of what?
it's a room
Doers.
full of doers. Like
Right.
it is impressive. But I'm gonna share a quote with you, and I want you to
Okay.
tell me how this particular quote, given what you just talked about with, you started, your business model, and you've been laying it out. It's been growing. I mean, your coaching program is going right. Is growing, leaps and bounds. Just off these principles. And I want to share a quote with you that has resonated with me for at least the last year or so,
Okay.
and I'm curious to get your take on it from an entrepreneurial standpoint. And the quote says, "A man who works all day and has no time to make money. A man who works all day has no time to make money." And the reason why I think about that is because I remember I know how it applies to me working a day job and the things that I've done. But there are things and insights that you've realized that help that corporate professional show up differently. If they start a side business, they show up even better at their corporate job, but then they start to recognize something that I always talk about, which is you start to really understand just how much value you are worth more than a day job. So when you think about that quote, "A man who works all day has no time to make money,"
Time to make
what does
money.
that say to Myron Golden?
Well, it tells me that a person who works all day doesn't understand the four levels of value. And so most people think that the key to making more money is working harder. But I submit to you that the key to making more money is not working harder, but the key to making more, I think first of all, let me say this. I think hard work is good. I think hard work makes you a better person than being lackadaisical, lazy, and slothful when you work. However, hard work is not the key. It's not like just because you work hard, that's not a guarantee that you're going to make money. It is a guarantee that you're going to be more tired, right? So I think the key to success is not working harder. The key to success is working higher. What does that mean? Well, there are four levels of value. The lowest level of value monetarily is implementation. The resource we use on that level, we use our muscles over time to make money, right? Muscles are a physical resource. Time is a limited resource. So we're multiplying a limited resource times a physical resource, and we're attempting to create wealth, which is a spiritual outcome. And so if you're attempting to use physical and limited resources to create unlimited spiritual wealth, that wealth that you're attempting to create has to be limited because your input is wrong, right? So the lowest level of value is implementation. The next to the lowest level of value is unification. On that level, you use your management skills to make money. You manage people. You're no longer the person who does the thing. You're the person who manages the people who do the thing. So you're going to make more money than if you did the thing yourself. Why? Because now you're getting paid off of, quote, more man hours, right? But the next level of value is where wealth begins to be created. Wealth begins to be created on the third level of value, which is communication. On that level, you use your mouth to make money. And words and language are a spiritual resource. And that's why you have people who master the art of communication are wealthier than people who just master a physical service like painting or being a dentist or whatever that thing is. It doesn't matter. You're using muscles. If you use your mouth and use words and learn how to create conversations that create cash flow and learn how to develop messages that move the masses, you can become massively wealthy to the tune of, $1 million a year to hundreds of millions of dollars a year. If you're an author, a speaker, a playwright, a songwriter, a singer, an actor, a talk show host, any of those things, you can become worth millions of dollars to hundreds of millions of dollars if you become any of those things. But the highest level of value is imagination. And imagination, use your mind and your money to make money. And so if you master the two higher levels of value, communication and imagination, and what's really fascinating to me is even for imagination, communication is necessary because you can speak without thinking, but you can't think without using words. So if you spend the majority of your working time using the higher levels of value, communication and imagination, the amount of money that you will make has no choice but to increase.
So then I understand that to be that whatever my current task oriented way of making money is today, then that's what it is. But that, because it's only it's time, right, over my muscle, well, then I can only do that but so much.
Right.
The real kicker, what you're saying is, then how do I take what my task do and go from that to saying I can put something out here in the marketplace to the world that is attractive. I've heard you talk about that kind of intersection before, and I've even heard you say, hey, there's it's not that you can't make more money. It's the fact that you haven't become, and you use the word findable, right? You're just not findable enough for the people that want to already buy what you need. Talk a little bit about that, and why is it that such an important message that I hear you talk about all the time, whether an entrepreneur just started yesterday to the ones that you've worked with that's been around for 20, 30 years making money?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs and salespeople make is they're trying to find people to sell stuff to instead of making themselves findable for people who already want to buy what they already want to sell. And so when I create a new offer for the marketplace, instead of saying, where can I find people to sell this to? I ask myself, who are the people who are already looking for this solution? And how can I make it more easy for them to find me? So instead of me looking for them, I just realized there are either thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions, maybe even hundreds of millions of people who already have a desire for the outcome that I can produce. How can I put myself in a position where it's easier for them to find me? Right? And we talk about like leverage. So we talk about leveraging communication. So this is a book I wrote, From the Trash Man to the Cash Man, How Anyone Can Get Rich Starting From Anywhere. I wrote this book in 2006, or actually 2007. We sold over 155,000 copies of this book. I wrote the book once, so it took my time to write the book once. It took my time to communicate the message once. And now all we've done is made this book findable for people who want this result. And now we make thousands of dollars a month from this book that I wrote like 15 years ago, right? So that's the difference between working at those different levels of value.
That's good. That's good. So, last couple of things I'll ask you here, because I know time is definitely valuable. You have a thought that I've always wanted to get your understanding on. You talk about thinking, and you mentioned that earlier, right? You were like, people don't always think about like the parts that would actually make them more money, right? They want to use our muscle, right? And you got guns. I like how you just showed that. I appreciate that on the show.
You're funny, bro. You're funny, bro.
You say thinking is the hardest work most people never do. Talk more about that, and what does that mean? And I want to be really like granular with this, because when I heard that, you know what that told me, Chris? That means there's money that you've left on the table because you won't think further.
100%.
So talk to the person who's at work right now, listening and watching this and not realizing I'm not actually thinking enough. And that's where the margin of money that I could be literally using to change my life right now, just because I haven't even thought long enough about it.
100%. Think about this. Think about the fact that there are people out there who will work hard at what's not working, long and hard. They'll work long and hard at what's not working. They already know it's not working because they've been doing it for 10 years and they're still broke, right? Or they're doing it for 10 years and their boss still hates their guts and they still hate their boss. They've been doing it for 10 years and they're still stressed. So people will work hard at what's not working so they can avoid thinking about what would work. Think about it, they'll spend all their time at a job they hate, working for a boss that doesn't like them, so they can make a little bit less money than it takes for them to survive. They'd rather do that than think about what could work. Because what could work, here's the caveat, what could work potentially could not work. And the thought of the fact that it might not work makes them feel like a failure. So I call what most people call the educational system, I call the miseducational, misdirectional system. I call it government indoctrination camps, child prisons, whatever you want to call it. But it's not designed to teach you to think. In fact, it's designed to program you to never think, to be afraid of thinking. Because if you think, it's going to get you in trouble, right? So instead of thinking, memorize somebody else's right answers and live your life as if that's the actual landscape, right? But when it comes to education, the map is not the territory, right? And so what we have to do is we have to figure out like, okay, what might work better? It's like my friend Jerry Clark, who you just had the privilege of meeting a couple weeks ago. He said, yeah, man, I can remember being in elementary school and they said Columbus discovered America. And then he named the people who were here, Indians. And I raised my hand and I said, teacher, if there were people already here when Columbus discovered America, how could you say he discovered America if people were already here? And he got sent to the principal's office, right? When you upset the apple cart of the people who are giving you this miseducation, and you as a student make them have to think about an answer, now you're in trouble, right? So one of the reasons people are so thinking averse is because their whole life when they thought something, if they brought it up, it'd get them in trouble. So now we've been programmed not to think instead of taught how to think. We've been told what to think, right? But we've never been taught how to think. And it's never been worse in the United States of America than it is right now, because now we are literally telling our children that if somebody disagrees with you, that's not safe. Like, so now free speech is in jeopardy because somebody might disagree with you. So they're literally teaching our children and our college kids that if somebody says something that you disagree with, they're making you unsafe and they are triggering you. It's so dangerous and so idiotic. No, somebody telling you the bridge is out because you don't like the word out to come after the word bridge, and somebody telling you the bridge is out is offending you. Them offending you is not the problem. The problem is the bridge is out. Right? It's fascinating that truth never has to silence error in order for it to exist. Error has to silence truth in order for it to exist, because otherwise truth will expose error. Error does not have the ability to expose truth.
I'm gonna do that to you again. You have to stop because you're making it worse. Say that again. Truth has to what?
I said truth does not need to silence error in order to exist. Error has to silence truth in order for error to exist. Because if truth still exists when error comes along, truth is going to expose error. Error does not have the ability to expose truth because
100%.
it is what it purports itself to be. Error is something that's a lie that's purporting to be truth. It's something that's darkness that's pretending to be light. It's something that's evil that's pretending to be good. It's something that's harmful that's pretending to be helpful. And as long as in order for it to exist, the light, the truth that could expose it has to be out of the environment. And that's why we have a government and a miseducational, misdirectional system that is hell-bent on silencing opposing voices. But see, for those of us who are truly enlightened, here's what we'd rather have. We would rather have questions we can't answer than answers we can't question.
All right, man. Listen, I can't do this. Okay. All right. So, and you bring up a good point because, you know, I have gotten an opportunity to see you on some amazing stages, and one of the things that I'm almost I'm curious about. I mentioned this in the beginning in your intro, like when I heard you talk the first time. Yes, you talk with a level of surety, but it's rooted in something. It's not like this. It's not like just clanging cymbals, right? Like it's really rooted in not just your belief, but your understanding, and that understanding which leads to experience, which that experience has led to results, right?
Correct, 100%.
I want to help the person who's listening to this right now who might be struggling, because for some people, yeah, Myron, I hear you. And you know what, Myron, I agree with you. But sometimes it's hard for me to be willing to take that first step to act on what I know is true, right?
Sure.
Whether that's my personal life or whether that's in
Sure.
business, right? Like, I know what's true, but sometimes I struggle with doing the right thing because of the peer pressure, because of the lie is louder than the truth. What do you say to the entrepreneur right now who might be struggling with knowing what is right to do, but in that space where it's like, but man, if I do the right thing right now, it might interrupt, what I do for my business.
So anything that's hard to do now, that's also necessary, the longer we neglect doing it, the harder it becomes. It's only going to become easier when we deal with it. Like, tyranny has to be cut off at the head as an infant. It cannot be cut off at the head as an adult. Like, you have to destroy tyranny as soon as it rears its ugly head, right? Tyranny is like a rattlesnake den in the nursery with your baby. Like, they cannot peacefully coexist. People say, so do you realize that people are afraid of the truth that will confront their preferred behavior because they don't desire to change? I think about how, like, the inhibition of free speech and censorship, the way it's being used now, it's always been like censorship is one of the things Hitler used that gave him the ability to perpetrate atrocities on the Jews, right? Anybody who spoke out against Hitler and what he was doing, they would have to pay the consequences, right? And so the longer that was the case, the more the tyranny reigned. In the United States of America, it's so fascinating. Like, there are all these arguments about discrimination, right? Discrimination. But in the United States of America, chattel slavery, which is the darkest stain on the fabric of America's garments, the darkest stain on the fabric of America's garments is chattel slavery. And the atrocities that America perpetrated on the people of African descent is just as atrocious, if not more atrocious, than the atrocities that Hitler perpetrated on the Jews. Like, I love America. I love living here. It's great. If you can't make it here, please don't go anywhere else. But America is not its slogans. Okay, let's keep it real. Just because it says it's one thing, it's not everything it purports itself to be. But it is better than any place else I've ever been. That's all I'm saying. Okay, and that's not coming from a guy who's never been negatively affected by discrimination. Like, I was born in a segregated hospital, contracted polio as an infant, have been walking with a brace my whole life because of segregation and discrimination. So it's real. However, the thing that gave chattel slavery and Jim Crow law such a stronghold, such a strong death grip on the United States of America is the fact slavery existed for hundreds of years because the people who benefited from it silenced the voices that speak out against it. And so now political correctness is doing the exact same thing with a lot of its evil agendas. And so we're making it against the law to speak out against things that some people have a desire to do. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're saying, okay, if you they're saying anytime you disagree with anybody about anything, then that disagreement is hate speech. And then they talk about hate crimes. Well, every crime's a hate crime, right? What hate crime? Nobody steals your car because they love you. They don't rob banks because they love the people at the bank. Nobody commits murder because they love the person. All crimes are hate crimes. That's such a brainless terminology, right? And we act as if that just because you disagree with somebody that you hate them. And we act as if a person having an opposing view is dangerous. No, what's dangerous is me not hearing the opposing view so I can evaluate whether it will save my life or not. That's what's dangerous. Like, I believe, for instance, that racism is stupid. Like, it's dumb as a box of rocks, right? And what I mean by racism is stupid, racism, white people against black people, Spanish people against Asian people against black, whatever, white people, black people, all racism is stupid because there's only one race, the human race. So racism is idiocy at its highest level. But you know how much time I spend arguing against racism? None.
Right.
You know why I don't spend none? Why don't I spend any? For the same reason, if I walked outside my office door and I saw some person screaming at the top of their lung, the sky is green and the grass is blue. Listen to me, people. The sky is green and the grass is blue. Listen to me. Why won't anybody listen to me? The sky is green and the grass is blue. It's so dangerous to believe that the sky is blue and the grass is green. How much time am I going to spend arguing with that person? None. Why? Because Mark Twain said it best. Never argue with an idiot. They will bring you down to their level and beat you with experience. So why would I spend any time arguing with a person who believes that they are better than somebody else because of the color of their skin? That is an argument I am totally unwilling to have. Why? Because as soon as I argue with it, I am giving it merit. It deserves no merit.
Man, all right. So we're gonna make a hard left.
Make a hard left, brother. Make a hard left. Don't throw me out the car.
We know we're not gonna throw out your car. That's why I'm telling you. So, you are where you are now, but I know there's a vision about the future, and there's people who go, yeah, I want to do this by the end of the year. I want to make this, right? Like some people have their goals, right? And it's like, I got this goal, this goal, this goal. Why do you think it's so hard for people to make the investment necessary to obtain what they ultimately want?
Well, there's so many answers to that question. So one of the answers is the reason people think it's hard to make the investment to create the result they desire is because a lot of people have been told that life owes you something because you're here. And so why should I have to make an investment? Why doesn't life just give it to me? Why doesn't the government give it to me? Why don't the rich people just take all the money they have and just disseminate it evenly amongst all the poor people? Like why don't they fix this problem? And the reason, so believing that is not only erroneous, it's also dangerous, right? Because if you're waiting for somebody else to come along and fix your problem is never going to get fixed because they ain't going to show up. They don't care that much, right? And so what I have to do is I have to realize that the seed says to the farmer says, well, I need a harvest. The soil says to the farmer, don't bring me your need, bring me your seed. Every thought is a seed, every word is a seed, every deed is a seed that I am sowing into the garden of my future. I am reaping today from yesterday's seed sown. I will reap tomorrow from today's seed sown. So my most important objective is to make sure that I sow the right seed today so I can reap the right harvest tomorrow.
Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, this man's time is precious, and he has given us a great portion of it. So I want to say, Myron, first of all, I am so glad that you pushed past all of the difficulties of life, all of the things that you have had to push through up until this moment, because you are a voice that is gonna definitely push past generations for what you're willing to do, right? What you do is not easy. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of thought, right?
It's definitely the lesser of two easies, right? So I like what Jim Rohn said. He said the reason I did what I did is because it was easy. Let me define easy. It was something I could do, right? And so but he said the caveat with easy to do is this: what's easy to do is also easy not to do, right? And so I just took the lesser of two easies. I did what was easy to do instead of not doing what was easy not to do.
100%. And I love what you said there, because we often talk here on the show about success as a thinking man and woman's game.
Come on now.
You have to be willing to think your way to success. And I appreciate the fact that you've put all of this investment, you've sown the seeds into your world of thinking, not only for yourself, not only for your family, but how to help others. And so I definitely appreciate that. So here on Massive Action Monday, I want to say thank you, Myron Golden, for being a leader. Thank you for being my coach. And thank you for just being a man of God who actually is living the word on a daily day basis and having fun with it. Like you are a man who literally has fun every day he wakes up. And ensures that
Yeah.
that's a part of your job. So I'm just thankful for you to doing that. Anything else you'd like to be able to share lastly as we wrap up, and letting people know about
Sure.
some of the things that you actually do and how they can find you.
Sure. So, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to share with your audience. I would recommend highly that people click the link in your description for my challenge, the Make More Offers challenge. So, if you don't have that link in there, Chris, go ahead and put the link for my challenge in there. And if you want to follow me on YouTube, just like YouTube, search my name and you'll find me. And there, I've got tons of videos out there for you to go learn and enjoy from. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, I'm at Myron Golden. There are no dots, there are no dashes, there are no numbers, there are no underscores, just MYRONGOLDEN. I'll look forward to seeing you at a live event or at a virtual event or somewhere around the world. And hopefully I'll be blessed by your presence. So thanks, Chris, for the opportunity. And I look forward to connecting with you the next time we have the opportunity to connect.
Absolutely. You all, listen, you have got an opportunity to hear from my personal business coach. That is the last time you will hear it for free in that manner. So I want to say thank you all for listening. Here, listen. I want you to go use the hashtag Massive Action Monday. Share this out. What did you learn? Matter of fact, here's the key. This is the challenge. I told you every single Monday I'm going to give you a challenge. You just heard from one of the top tier entrepreneur coaches that people ask for by name. Okay? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go sit down and think today. Take the time to think. Figure out what it is that you do today and how can you put that out into the marketplace, okay? I want you to start thinking about what are the things that I bring to work every day? What is maybe something that he said today that was helpful to you? I want you to share those things in the comments. What are you going to do? And then we're going to come back here next Monday and we're going to build on top of this. It's Massive Action Monday, man, right here on the World According to Chris podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here. You all have a great, incredible day. And guess what? We will see you again in the next episode. Have a great day, everybody.